My name is Max Stein, and I love video games.
I'm the Megabuck. I really love video games.
And I'm Rafa Boy, and I love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we talk treasured video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This week, our topic of conversation is a sweet, sweet game called Dark and Darker. We're taking a hot
baby.
steam where we talk exclusively about games that we play on Valve's Steam video game platform. Dark and Darker is a hardcore dungeon crawling multiplayer escape. What did you call the Tarkov games? An extraction game?
An extraction shooter.
An extraction shooter.
But
it's not.
It's
It's
not
an
a shooter.
extraction hex like, but more on that later. But first, per tradition, the Megabuck and RetroGameTreasure.com are going to take us back in time with this week's Retro Zone. Hit me, Buck.
Back in time.
Ooh, sweet voice.
Not that I don't always bring buttes for you guys, but I brought a real butte. Okay. Anybody ever heard of a little series called Resident Evil?
Never heard of it.
Okay.
I might have just a
All
little
right.
bit.
So if you know, Shinji Mikami is the granddaddy of the Resident Evil series. He directed the first one.
Mhm.
He did the third one. He did the fourth one. He did a whole lot of those. I mean, he's the daddy of those. Just like we were talking, Igarashi being the daddy of the Metroidvanias, right? Well, his right-hand man, as it were, back then was a man named Hideki Kamiya. He was the director of Resident Evil 2. So when it came time to do Resident Evil 4, he said to Mikami, said to Kamiya, I want you to make 4. And almost like they were alternating back and forth, right?
Right.
So he started to work on it, and it started to go in a really weird and different direction. Again, if you don't know the other games that Hideki Kamiya did, he did Beautiful Joe.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
What?
He did. This was after the
Right.
game I'm going to give you here. He did Okami.
Nice.
He did Bayonetta. So the
Interesting,
man
okay.
was setting up for a pedigree, starting with Resident Evil 2 and going into some of these here too. Mikami no slouch himself either. Resident Evil, and you may not know this, Mac, but after he left Capcom, his studio made Evil Within.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking all around survival horror, right? But the game I'm talking about today isn't survival horror. It's a game that started out as a Resident Evil game, and one of its main mechanics was because Kamiya was playing a prototype version of Onimusha. You guys remember Onimusha by Capcom?
Love that
So it
game
turns out
as
there was
well.
a bug in Onimusha while they were still working on it. And if you slashed in quick succession, you could juggle the enemies in midair, which became a mechanic he put in his masterpiece, Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
PS2.
Wow.
Oh, nice choice.
What a long historic road to walk, but that's.
Isn't like we had to get there, right?
I didn't know the Onimusha glitch thing. I didn't realize that.
Lots of things about this game ended up going in totally different directions, and I think it's because they wanted it to be its own thing and be as far away from Resident Evil as possible. The action orientation, the melee orientation. Obviously, Dante's got his guns, Ebony and Ivory too, but they wanted to have more of that melee and the juggling of the enemies. This game originally had this first one originally had more of an open world, not the level-based system, which this one has. If you remember, it was based in the missions.
Yeah.
One more thing that they wanted to do to separate it a bit from Resident Evil is actually said that one of the biggest early Capcom games that gave them inspiration on this was Strider. Remember Strider, the platformer platformer Strider? It's a Capcom game. Really cool cyborg ninja is the best way to say whatever.
You've probably
Strider
seen
is.
him in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 before, is where you would recognize him.
He's the ninja in the blue, the light bluish purple outfit.
He's got like
with
a baton that's like a sword.
It's like which is a
cool.
cool weapon, right? So it really did. I mean, you look at what these guys did afterwards, especially Hideki Kamiya, what he did after Devil May Cry. I mean, he made
Good
some
games, yeah.
bangers for sure. And this game also, and funny, a lot funny as well, because since we talked about the Soulsborne games last week,
Mhm.
when this game came out, it was before Dark Souls. Hell, it was before those Ninja Gaiden reboots.
Yes.
This game was considered hard.
Well, and also, gosh, what was it? The third Devil May Cry game, the one with the nunchucks. That
Mm.
one was that same Team Ninja level of
That's the
difficulty.
one I
Good game
have. I
too.
actually have a copy
That
of
one
Devil
is
May Cry 3 right
baller.
there.
So
Yeah.
that one was the first one to introduce friend to the podcast, or from way back when, Ruben Langdon. Ruben Langdon was the voice and mocap for Dante in Devil May Cry 3, 4, 5X. He did his voice in the animated series.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
He also did the voice of Ken Masters in Street Fighter 4.
Mhm.
And so back in my AFO days, and I think it's funny, this year at AFO, Mac, I know you're going this weekend as of this episode airing. It's this
Mhm.
weekend. They're doing like a play some fighting game with some chick that's a voice actor in the fighting game. I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar,
Shit.
because I did a play Street Fighter with Ruben Langdon 20 years ago, or whenever Street Fighter 4
Ah.
came out. And I remember he brought his own prizes, which was so much fun. He's up on stage, and he's of course playing as Ken in every round.
Got to.
And I remember he was mic'd up because we were asking him questions, but mid round he'd just go Hadouken, like to
Say his own move
fake,
announcements.
well,
Yeah.
to fake out his opponent, like he was
Oh,
throwing a
man.
Hadouken, but he wasn't throwing a Hadouken. Like,
Damn, I would do the same thing, man.
I thought
if
that was
could
pretty
do-
fun.
Yeah.
But I got to
yeah.
ask him a lot of questions too about just the process of that as well too, between Devil May Cry and what's it like being the voice of Ken Masters, which is
Yeah.
wicked cool. But
Can you imagine
Dante-
like playing yourself like in a fighting game or in any game for that matter, like playing
that'd
and
be
hearing
very
your own
psychedelic.
voice? Like, whoa, dude! Like, what?
Yeah. What'd you say about Dream Come True? Put me in your game.
Yeah.
Dante whoops ass in this game,
Yes.
personality wise. It gets
Yes.
like, I've played some of those newer Devil May Cries, and
Mhm.
he feels lost in these newer ones. I don't know. This the sound of picking up an item in Devil May Cry, I feel like has etched itself. That
The-
I can't.
Boing.
Boing! Yeah, like that. That Capcom Resident Evil adjacent sound is
Mhm.
rent free in my brain forever.
I
And
beat
also
the
the
ever-living crap
faces
out of
of
this
the
game.
red gems, like the
Mhm.
horrifying screaming visage of the fucking red
right.
gems that you collect as your
I love that kind
currency.
of shit.
Yeah.
What was it?
it's-
Do you? I know this is on the. What's the name of his sword? Do you remember?
Oh,
Ooh.
putting me on the spot. I forget.
Sorry,
I
I
remember
did-
Ebony and Ivory. The names
Because
of
that's
his.
such great names for
I
black
went
and
to
white
a
guns.
Capcom cafe in Japan 7 or 8 years ago, and they had a bunch of desserts and drinks and other things. And I ordered a dessert called the Ebony and Ivory, and it was like an ice cream thing that had a little white chocolate and dark chocolate guns on
That's
on the
amazing.
dessert. Probably have
Japan.
pictures somewhere. Yeah, we love
Mac,
you,
by the
Japan.
way,
Guns, so cute.
according to the internet, it's called Rebellion.
Okay, that rings a bell.
What is?
Interesting. The
Oh,
sword.
the sword. Okay.
Yeah, apparently it's called Rebellion, which is
Mhm.
fun.
Not less memorable than Ebony
Yeah, I
and
know, right?
Ivory.
Yeah.
Ebony and
but
Ebony and
the
Ivory is
jug-
much cooler.
The juggling and the combos. Did they have the combo ranking system in that game? Do you remember?
Yes, and it was very. Remember, it was mission based. So in order to
Right.
get a better rank on the missions, you would have to get the combos to a certain amount, and enemies didn't respawn, so you had that like one shot on your path
Right.
through to do it.
Good ass
Yeah, good
PlayStation
one,
2
huh?
game. Very atmospheric. I remember the chapel level, like the very orangey
Oh,
chapel
yeah.
level in the very beginning. You fight
Yeah.
the giant spider. I
The
believe
giant
it
like
was.
magma spider
Yeah.
thing is terrifying.
I think that was probably I just get to that part of that game over and over and over
Yeah.
again and never
Just
be able
quit.
to yeah,
Just quit.
just get my ass kicked every time.
Oh, I beat the crap out of that one.
It's a
I loved
hardcore
it.
action game. You what kind of settings would you need to have on your profile to get yourself? a copy
It's
of
in the
Devil May
action,
Cry?
obviously the action adventure category for sure. It is an M for mature game, and so we try not to
Good
send those
point.
to you unless you say you're okay with M for mature games as well.
It's got
um,
boobies in it, I think.
It's or something demon boobies to some extent. I'm sure.
Doobies,
Hell
demon
yeah.
boobies.
But PS2 is an amazing console that we get a really cool and wide variety of games for. So I can't say enough about like PS1, PS2, adding them to your list of game consoles for the service for you to get in your box.
Devil May Cry sounds like a good ass day off of work. The first, you know
Look
what
at
I'm
the
saying?
spine. Look at the spine.
There's that face.
That's one of the faces.
That
Ah,
cursive writing is so
there
cool.
it
It's
is.
like Cowboy
There it
The
Bebop or
yellow
some
one, you
shit,
can't see
yeah.
it too good, but
It's a little blurry.
Noise. Love Devil May Cry. That was an excellent retro zone. We're going to take a quick
Very.
break. And when we come back, we're going to take a hot steam. Okay, we're back, everyone, and you know what time it is. Music cue. Steam cue. Relaxation cue. That's right, gentlemen. It's time to step into the sauna with Valve's wonderful gaming platform, Steam. That's right. If you own a PC, you probably play games on Steam. And here at Hot Steam, we talk about games that are anywhere from new to new-ish that we've been playing on the Steam store. This week, we are playing an interesting game that has some interesting controversy in its origin stories. A South Korean game called Dark and Darker. Dark and Darker is a hardcore dungeon crawling extraction game a la Escape from Tarkov made by a studio called Iron Mace.
Emphasis on the hard, honestly. Damn.
Yeah.
It's fucking tough.
Get good.
Man. Yeah, for real.
Buck, you did a little bit of research. You know a little bit because you've been playing this game long into its beta about the controversy. I know it got taken down from the Steam store for a hot while due to some policies
Quite a while.
that Steam has.
So what happened was the people that formed that studio worked at Nexon, and if you know who they are, then you think they're just as scummy as all the rest of us do. They make a lot of mobile games, and a lot of the big ones escape me at the moment, but they make a lot of large titles. So a lot of these folks worked for them. So what happened was it was removed in March of 2023. So it's been like a year since it was removed from Steam. That was during the alpha and beta phase. It was free to play then as well, too. Because Nexon claimed copyright infringement, something like they thought they had stolen assets because they were ex-employees. They thought they had worked on the game while they still worked there, all kinds of stuff like that. And so what you mentioning with the Steam terms of services, if your game is in some sort of litigation in that respect, it is not allowed to be listed on the Steam marketplace. And so it had to be taken down as per those terms of service on there too. Sometime like late last year, early this year, the court in, I think, California threw the case out saying, no, they didn't steal your assets. No, you're just pissed that they made a good game and they don't work for you anymore. But it was still tied up in South Korean court for a little bit. And I don't know if that had to get cleared up or if Steam was able to like kind of blur that line of that doesn't matter. That's in a different, you just can't sell it in South Korea maybe. And so it finally came back to Steam this past month so we could start playing again.
And funny, in its absence, there was a game called Dungeonborn, I believe, that came out and was the same exact game.
Well, it's in the same vein. It was a demo. You could play it for like 2 weeks, and it's not even an early access, so you can't. That game's not out yet.
That one. Yeah, I got to play that one. I don't know, man. I think Dark and Darker is better.
Yeah.
I think it's a much. I don't know. It feels better. I had more of a good time playing Dark and Darker than I did with Dungeonborn, but yeah.
Interesting. Can you put your finger on why? Or
I mean, like if we're gonna, you can keep going with the history, but if we're gonna get into the mechanics of this, like I can talk about like just let's just say the combat for me feels much better in Dark and Darker. It feels more well fleshed out, and I don't know. And you also literally move physically faster. Dungeonborn was so fucking slow.
Everybody had like giant weight, like wombo combos.
Oh my
like
God,
that was like, but yeah.
So Dark and Darker, I wrote here, it plays like if Kingsfield and PUBG had a baby. So it's a it's a multiplayer up to 3-person team, so you can do solo or duo matches. Medieval battle royale kind of. You get dropped in a one of several maps. There's Crypt, Inferno, Goblin Cave, Ruins, and Ice Caverns.
Yeah.
As of this recording.
Right.
And to get into finer grain detail, there's like an advanced version of all of these dungeons and like a noob version of all these dungeons. But regardless, you enter these dungeons with say if you're just starting your base gear that has been given to you based on one of 9 classes that you pick. The classes are fighter, barbarian, rogue, ranger, wizard, cleric, bard, warlock, and druid, and they all play exactly like the Dungeons and Dragons. It's exactly what you think.
It's pretty good. It's very good high fantasy interpretation. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm playing a fighter and I love it. I'm in such a good
So, and there's also a couple different races to choose from once you either buy the game, because I forgot to mention this game is free upon initial download.
Kids. It's free.
You get to make one character for free who you can level up over time by delving into the dungeons and doing things like fighting monsters and opening treasure chests and breaking barrels. And if you want to get more than one character, you have to buy the game, or you can find these like in-game currencies that are pretty hard to find. But if you find,
I haven't found a single
30 of them or something like this, you can get the game for free or upgrade the game, so to speak. But yeah, so you get dropped into this map, which is pretty big, if I do say so myself. It's big enough to where I've played, maybe 6 or 7 hours, and I still don't have them memorized. Like it's and they're quite big and quite elaborate. They'll have rooms with multiple floors and sub rooms and hidden rooms and things like this. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I keep digressing. The point of the game is to either be the last person / group standing in this map, or to extract before having to do so. That is to say, leave the level.
Well, if you're the last group standing and you don't have an exit, you're still dead.
Is that right? I've never been the last group exiting, so I'm not sure if you win or if you just die.
So a lot of changes got made from the alpha. One thing I think is really cool is they spent this downtime when it wasn't on there, and really did a lot of work on this game. They did try to sell it through their website and launch it through their website. You could buy it and still play it in early access through the website, but who does that through websites anymore? Right, so they were trying, but they spent a ton of time making improvements to this game. Most of the maps, except for the main basic dungeon one, are completely different. There are only 2 maps when we first started playing. Then they added some more. They added an outdoor one. It was terrible. They turned it into something completely different, which was good because it was really, really rough. When you say that this game is a battle royale, it's really more of a PvPvE. There's a lot more PvE than there is PvP.
That's true.
It's tons and tons of dungeon exploration, and then another team. Like, you don't run into people constantly like in a Fortnite or anything else. It's more like a hunt. If you've ever played that, you run into players very infrequently.
I absolutely love that about it. Just like not to get too into whatever, if we were going to discuss our experiences with the game, but like Mac and I, we were playing with my buddy and like exploring the dungeon, and then we heard like someone playing a lute in one of the rooms next door.
A bard.
Yeah, and exactly, right? We're like, wait, what is that? What's that music? And then realized, oh shit, there's another party right in that room. And I heard them fighting and fighting and fighting. And then they all bust through the door, getting chased by a bunch of goblins and slaughtered us.
Their fight spills over into your room.
Yeah. Right. It spilled over.
You were now part of it.
They all started killing us, and we got slaughtered, but it was very funny.
Yeah, that's part of the allure and the fun of it too. So the 3 classes that weren't in the alpha beta that they added were the bard, the warlock, and the Druid. They added them just in the last or so update or two, which are all also really great additions to it. The original mechanic of the game was just the portals. It had a very traditional closing circle like a battle royale does. It was like a plague of locusts closing in on you,
which they still have, but now it's just a white ring.
It's not a circle anymore. It's just
like collapses, doesn't it?
Every level is a little different now, but yes, one of the dungeons just slowly collapses on you. One of them, the locusts slowly come in and start to kill you. They're all a little different, which is a cool nuance they all have.
That is cool.
It also used to be you find a single or a triple portal and you extract. That's it. Those are the only way to extract. And there would be random red portals that could show up, singles or triples, which they do still have. And I don't know if you've encountered it, Mac. They basically take you to hell. Like, you start a new level. You go to a new like holding pen area, you and your team, and you go to a second deeper level that is hard as balls.
Yeah,
Really? I have not
there's a
encountered
red
that.
staircase on the map. If you run into
Yeah.
the red staircase,
Yeah.
apparently those lead to hell.
Yes, that's what the red staircases do now, because those are full of centaurs and demons and terrifying stuff that will kill you very quickly if you're not geared out. So now that the game has, and it makes so much more sense, I love it. It still has the portals, still show up periodically, especially the triples for your team, but it has the staircases, the ropes for extraction. There's the rafts in one of the rafts and the boats in one of the levels.
Yeah.
There's elevators in a couple of the levels. So there's more semblance of order to like the ways you can extract kind of thing. But a lot of those are single extracts. If you're playing 2 or 3 players, it makes it a little different. Like, well, who wants to go? Give him all the loot and have him go, or
I
The
love
reason that's relevant, I
Yeah.
don't know if I mentioned it, but the reason you would want to extract versus trying to be the last man standing is because when you die on a run, you will drop everything you have
it's a
on you.
roguelite. It's a
Right.
roguelite. in that
Kind
respect,
of,
right?
because the thing that you don't drop is the experience you gain along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's about the goblins you killed along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And so because you do over time in an RPG fashion, you unlock like these perk slots. So every class has like a list of like 12-ish perks that you can interchange. You start off with only being able to hold one of them, but by the time you get to level 15, I think you can have up to 4 of your perks simultaneously. And you each also get each
2
class
abilities.
has like 2 skills
Mhm.
to equip. So though that results in some really cool, like I just got to level 15. We could start talking about, I guess, what we like about this game. I wanted to start with
Okay,
just like
yeah.
the mechanics of the fighting and the
Combat
gameplay like
is
that. Yeah.
wonderful in this game.
Combat
I
is
love it.
Kingsfield.
It's
I,
Kingsfield, but a little faster and a little more like precise. You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
can matrix things, you can like dodge.
Yeah, that's true.
like-
the hitboxes are pretty nice.
It's got this really, really slow approach, as my
Right.
colleagues just
Tactical, almost.
mentioned. If you go to click to swing, especially for my experience, I've been playing as a barbarian.
You gotta
And
have
he
a barbarian.
swings really, really
So cool.
slowly, but it is
It's
so
Oh, if he
satisfying to
connects.
land a hit because there's one of the things about the weapons in this game is when you swing a weapon, and Buck was talking about this earlier when we were playing, it'll the reticle, your little reticle will turn into a bar that will basically
Shows the trajectory of the weapon.
precisely.
Yeah.
So if you have an axe and you're swinging it from over your right shoulder, the little reticle will show you that it's going to swing at this
From the side,
angle,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
relevant because much like Dark Souls, where it's all about the actual animation of your object, like this game's damage and the way the weapons deal damage is entirely about landing
Yeah.
your weapon's sweet spot
Yeah.
on one of their open spots.
But
And
also
making sure they
blocking.
don't. Yeah.
If
Or
you're the
straight up
person,
not
too,
getting
yeah.
hit, yeah.
if you're the person with the shield and you know that the first attack coming from a barbarian is
Overhead,
is
for
right
example.
overhead, you have to tilt your shield up to block it.
Right.
And if he's using an axe that's like a war axe with a long handle and he's going to reach really far, if you're too close to him, he will go over your shield and nick
Hit you
you in
right-
the top of the head,
Yep.
which is because of the pacing of the combat. That becomes a really fun back and forth. You ever seen LARPing when they do LARPing medieval battles? And everybody's just like they're just swinging their sword back and forth as fast as, and there's no realism
Yeah.
to it. And I mean, I
Right.
guess that's how they might fight in real life. I don't know, but
Swords are pretty heavy. I don't know if you could swing them that fast.
yeah, there you go.
I've seen HEMA, like people doing like historical European martial arts, and it's absolutely not the way they do it.
Yes,
like,
and so
it's
this game
it's very
plays
much like this game.
and this game plays more to that speed, which also gives you more time to react to things.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting that it is because I watched some videos of some like really badass dudes playing in the combat, and for a game that is so slow, the really high tier people,
Yes,
it's got some twitch to it.
Especially the rogues
And the
Dear God, the rogues.
spellcasters. The spellcasters have this mechanic where you can memorize a certain number of spells based on this stat that you have that allows you to memorize more or less spells.
Right.
And so you to equip a spell, you have to press a button that opens a wheel, and then you select the spell, and then you have to hold the item that actually allows you to cast the spell. Like what are they called in Dungeons and Dragons?
Focus.
Yeah,
Your
like your spell
focus.
focus. Yeah.
So it's like everything from a magic orb to a book to a magic staff kind of type deal. But I've seen some people do some crazy maneuvering. What was another game that we recently played? Walking backwards is non-beneficial.
Barony.
Barony, right?
Makes
So
you move
much
slower
like
if
in
you walk
Barony,
backwards.
you move slower backwards than you do in any other direction.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so part of the combat becomes doing like these
Turning and
like
running away.
shimmies,
Strafe,
like
yeah.
you turn to the side and shimmy to the right when you want to actually move backwards, right?
Right.
Or
Circle
doing a lot of
strafing is a big thing.
Yeah.
circle strafing precisely as well. Much like Barony, while we're still on the topic of gameplay, the dungeon exploring as well is very
Yeah.
Very
satisfying
fun.
because when you're not fighting an NPC or God forbid another player, please God don't find me. You're
You need to play as a
exploring.
rogue so you can hide.
Yeah, you're exploring the dungeon, which is littered with chests of varying like sizes. There is a interaction stat that you can get, like that a rogue, for example, has a faster interaction time
Yeah.
than a barbarian. So,
Yeah.
like for me,
Yeah.
opening chests is a real pain in the
Takes
butt.
forever. And doors.
And
Yeah.
doors, right?
Levers,
And
anything. Yeah.
You can find gloves to make it faster.
barbarians
Yeah.
have a perk where you can just smash doors open with your
Yes.
weapon.
Hell yeah,
Yeah,
that's
which is
awesome.
amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, the dungeon looting is really satisfying, and it kind of dovetails into the next thing that we could talk about, which is just the general atmosphere of this game.
That's what I wanted to point out, actually, that the name of this game, the
Yeah.
title of
It's
this
very
game is
apropos.
100% accurate. Yeah, it is very fucking dark. Like,
And then it's also darker.
it gets much
Yeah.
darker. You can do things like you can ambush other groups sometimes. Like what we did was that we found an extraction point and we posted up in the room, turned off all the torches so that when they came in it would be pitch black, and we just hid and waited. And like we're just sitting there like, have they seen
Oh,
us?
you're
I
one
don't
of
know if they've
those
seen us.
dickheads.
Well, we were ready to go, but the extraction point wasn't ready, so we had to wait. And then of course they
Right.
showed up. They still slaughtered us, but we tried our best. That's
You
all I'm
tried.
saying.
That that when you said that, I didn't want to interject, but the darkness of Dark and Darker is a dark game, but it's also the way it uses light is
Yeah.
good.
Very smart.
Because
yeah.
while it's a very dark game, like you can turn off and on every light source, and like
Carry
torches.
torches. Mhm.
Torches are a thing that you get a lot, and there's like pro level move when you start a battle in the darkness. You got to pull a torch out and throw it on the ground so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And just the designer's use of lighting in different places creates a really thick, effective atmosphere for like every room. Like you'll be in the Goblin Den, which is my favorite map because it has the weakest mobs that I can just crush in
Just a
one
million of them.
cleaving skull blow. But you'll walk in and there will be like a fire that's started by some goblins and it's low to the ground. And so it's like, and there's like some food that's roasting on like sticks next to it. And so it's casting shadows like up and into the ceiling, and there's a goblin walking by the fire, and you can see the light dancing on him, and you're in the shadows with your fucking axe just like waiting for him to turn around so you can fucking hit him in the fucking head. It's just
so good.
Which you hit him in the fucking head, and then you get to the second best thing about the environment and the atmosphere of this game, which is the sound. The sound design in this game is incredible. Notice I didn't say the music because there is no music.
There is no music.
Much like PUBG. The reason I honestly said it reminds me so much of PUBG is because of the deafening silence of the game.
The ambiance they want to pull you into.
Yes, it's very... Everything I saw online, everyone was, you got to play this game with headphones. You absolutely have to, because there are a lot of times where you get a lot more information from your ears than your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Lots of dark rooms. And so much like Raph said earlier, he kind of one time we heard this guy playing a flute, but honestly, a lot more times you'll hear just a guy walking in the next room, and it's that PUBG effect where you're like, oh fuck, shit, there's somebody in there. Instant panic for me where I'm just like, oh shit. I had that happen today where I was just like looting a chest, and it takes me 1,000 years because I'm a barbarian and I'm at 80% of 100% looted, and I hear like tap 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 tap, and that just little tip taps was all it took for me to just be like, oh shit, and just have to
Dude,
Get my hair standing up, dude.
talking about the audio design in this game, I love the way that your footsteps work. It's so I know it's like such a small
No, you're
thing,
right. You
but
start with bare feet.
yeah, and you hear
Yep.
the plap,
You hear
plap,
the meat
plap,
slaps.
plap.
Mhm.
And then if you put on like I put on like these heavy like iron
Greaves
boots
or something, yeah.
and I could hear the
Yep.
of the like plates kind of
Yep.
interacting with each other. Oh my god, I fucking love it. It's
There's
so
different
good.
textures that you can walk on. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
walking on stone. Sometimes you're walking on like mud. Sometimes you're walking through
Yeah.
like thick, like you're wading through like a foot of water or something like this.
Yeah.
All the
Mind-blowing.
enemies
I love
sound really scary. You can hear goblins in the next room, and you just know like,
Mhm.
fuck, I'm gonna walk in. There's gonna be a bunch of fucking goblins. I'm gonna have to beat the hell out of.
Or the centipede. Have you run into the centipede at all?
Oh
Yeah,
god, yes, the giant
so
centipede.
deadly.
A lot
fucking
of these, a
hate
lot of the
that
big
thing.
enemies were not in the alpha beta. We had like
The
the big
harpy.
scary with the big scary armored skeleton, and that was it. But the giant spider, the giant freaking the centipede, the like Wendigo, abominable snowman thing
There's a
in the
literal
ice.
like giants, like these giant dudes.
They
Like,
scare you.
yeah, the
None
guys
of those
walking around with
guys
a
were in
dwarf
that,
shield.
so all of them have been a surprise.
There's boss monsters. There's like boss versions of all the basic mobs too
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Like nightmare skeletons that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were always like reds. They had like a red
Right,
skeleton,
and now
a
there's,
red
like, purple
goblin,
ones,
red cold
too.
blood.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
gosh,
the
so
regular, the
terrifying.
reds, and the purples. Yeah.
But yeah, the sound is amazing. I know I said it already before, but also the sound of your weapon hitting an opponent, like the sound of the axe just
Yeah.
burying itself in the head, and the fact that you have to aim the weapon makes it feel
Yeah.
so much more satisfying when you actually land that attack.
Have you been in a tight corridor yet with your giant axe where you try to swing it overhead
it hits the
clunk,
wall,
and it
yeah.
hits the
Yes.
ceiling,
The roof,
and
yeah.
then the guy in front of you is using a rapier, which is a poking weapon, so he's
Yeah.
getting all his jabs in on you, but
Right.
you're going, God dang it, I got to get out of this narrow corridor. This doesn't work.
It reminded me so much of Dark Souls.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
It's like a
for sure.
multiplayer Dark Souls in
First person, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Really
The,
good.
what classes are you guys playing as?
Like I said, I
Mhm.
love the barbarian class. So fun, and a lot of people were suggesting either be a warrior or a barbarian.
Mhm.
They've got tons of health. They get a bonus from not wearing armor as one of their perks,
It's a barbarian.
which makes
nice.
the first levels of the game where you are usually using your starting equipment, which for a
Mhm.
barbarian, which is to not have clothes.
Yeah.
So that's like a default. You're already just sort of already tough and strong.
And what skills are you taking with him?
I just got my fourth skill like slot opened up, and so I've got like a thing that makes it to where you're two-handed. When you're using a two-handed weapon, you do more damage. I've got a thing that makes it to where when you're using axes specifically, you'll do more damage. I do a thing where if you're not wearing armor, you get more damage, and then finally a perk where if you land a headshot with an axe, you get a 10% damage increase.
Ooh,
So my
nice,
guy
nice.
just like, I didn't realize when I was doing the solos, it was one thing, but then when I jumped in a game with Buck and Brad and they're like, oh shit, it's a skeleton. And I just walked up and like, "Phuh," and just like, and they're like, oh shit. And I was like, he's dead.
This man means business.
Oh, great.
But
I
for
love it.
defense, I'm absolutely fucked. If I get gang
Yeah.
like up on, I'm just
Yeah.
getting obliterated.
What about
Dude,
you,
I've
Raph?
been playing. I'm playing the free version of the game right now. I am planning on buying the game so that I can actually try the other classes. But I started as just a simple fighter, and I like the way that feels. Like I like using, the way I have my stuff set up is that I have as my main weapon, I like a two-handed like halberd, or not a halberd, a two-handed like Zweihander, like a
okay.
broadsword or
Like
whatever.
a big bright, yeah. Mhm.
Right, yeah, I love that. Like the defensive stance for it is so fucking cool. But then I can bring up the shield as my secondary weapon if I have to. And what I have my stuff all set up as is kind of to be a tank. So I have a taunt so that I can pull in all the aggro if I have to, like if it's necessary, I can aggro anything like 7 meters away from you or whatever. And then I have like a lot of bonuses to my actual like stance with a shield. And shield bash too. I have a shield bash. My dude's like at level 5 or 6, so I only have like 2 of the perks and then the 2 little skills at the bottom. But yeah, I tank it up basically.
Yeah, fighter is it's a D, like Max said before,
Solid.
it's a D&D
Yeah.
game. Fighter is a D&D fighter. They have versatility over
Right.
anything else.
You find weapons and shit and armor and chests. For barbarian, he can use like almost none of it. But
Yeah.
then I did.
Just the big
That's not,
stuff.
I bought the game, so I've tried the fighter a little bit, and he can use like all all of it.
Yeah.
So you're constantly finding shit that's
Yeah.
helping you, which
And
is
what
really
skills
nice.
are you using, Rap?
What's good? So I don't remember right now, honestly. Like I have the like I said, I have the I forgot what it's called, but it's a perk that makes it so that I have like a plus like 50 bonus or whatever to like my if I'm in a defensive stance.
What are your two
and
active
then,
skills though?
Oh,
Like
okay.
your Q and E.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
you
Q and
start
E.
with
So the
those.
Q I have set up as the taunt, and then the E I have set up as like a shield bash. So I can have my shield
his
up.
is
And
a
then,
taunt, and
yeah.
yours is like a scare tactic.
Yeah, I didn't
Barbarian
mention
scares them away.
I use the War Cry, which gives you bonus to basically all of your physical stats. So you get extra like bonus vigor, bonus strength, and you get a speed increase at the expense of receiving more damage.
I see.
And then the other one that I use is the gosh, I can't remember the name, but it's an area of effect that scares NPCs,
Right.
and
Ah.
also for players and NPCs, it does a damage reduction.
It's
So
like a
that's
fear kind
when
of
I
thing.
am getting ganged up on, I'll use this thing to reduce the amount of damage that everyone's doing to me to try to at least survive that way.
For
But
a moment.
Buck, you're
Yeah.
playing a ranger, right?
I mained a ranger mostly in the alpha beta too. I've tried a couple of the other classes. I probably would have tried warlock if it had been in that before. I tried bard at the very end of the beta there too, but it just shows to the versatility of the classes as well too. The ranger has a higher interact speed, so he does stuff a little faster, not as fast as the rogue, but he definitely does. And the ranger, in like true D&D fashion, he is really good at like the dungeon exploring part of the
Yeah.
game, not quite as much the combat. I mean, they still get that
Interesting.
too. I can dual wield a rapier and a hand crossbow, but reloading a hand crossbow
Oh.
takes like 3 seconds. So I really get one shot with the crossbow and then I'm in the fight with the rapier.
Right.
You
Right.
get other choices as well, like a giant windlass crossbow, bow and arrow, obviously that kind of stuff as well
How
too.
does the it's like how does the ranger, like what makes the ranger good at exploring the dungeon?
So they get the bonuses to interacting with lots of things. Some of the abilities
Oh.
that you're taking as well too. They have a really high speed, like I think the
Okay.
second or third highest compared to the rogue, so they're good at
Nice.
getting away from monsters as well too.
Nice.
One of the abilities that I use a lot, one of their passives, is a tracking ability,
Yeah.
which
Oh.
That's what I
lets
was gonna
you
say.
see the footprints of recent other players, not NPCs. So
Oh.
it helps you to either hunt down a party or stay away from a party if you know where they are, because
Nice.
the rangers get access to hunting traps right out of the gate. So, oh, they went in that room. Well, I'm going to trap that door and we're going to go that way.
Yeah, we did that
Because if
earlier.
they try to come through
Nice.
the door, it's going to mess them up as well too. One of his abilities, my Q and E, are the E that I basically use universally is the bread. He comes with like a loaf of bread, and he gets like
Right.
basically
A
free
heal.
cheap potions, a couple
Nice.
per mission kind of thing. The Q is a mixed bag with them. They have a lot of things that assist with the bow. One that makes it so you like knock a bow with like 3 arrows and they
Yeah, I
fire in
seen
a
that.
That's
fan.
sick.
There's one where they fires in a fan. There's another one where you fire 3 in quick succession. There's
Ah.
one where that next shot will do like an extra 10% damage through armor, has like extra armor penetration. The one I've been using a lot lately, though, has been super cool, and that is a quick backstep.
Oh, yes,
So,
that
and
saved your life
and you
earlier
can use
too.
it every 10
Ooh.
seconds. So for a class that's using ranged a lot, and even a regular crossbow takes like 2 seconds or so to reload in a new arrow, a lot of times you're like in their face or you switch to your melee and then they're about to swing on you and you hit that button and you jump back a few feet and they miss.
Oh, that's
One of the
awesome.
other things that, because I did get to play as a ranger a little bit, I deleted my character before I bought the game and made a couple before I settled on barbarian, but they had a passive that allows you to set up campfires faster
Yes.
in the game, and it, much
faster.
much like barony, there's times when you just gotta take a break. You just got your ass kicked in a fight, and there's a long time limit on pretty much every match, and sometimes 2 minutes in you've already fought 6 guys. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buck and Brad
And
and
you're
I fell in a hole a couple hours ago, and there's like 10 skeletons down there. I was like, oh
Awesome.
shit!
You guys fell in the hole. I stayed at
Yeah.
the top of the hole shooting the skeletons.
And so what he does is you set up a campfire, and then you can replenish your health while you're sitting down.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting down next to a campfire, it replenishes at a reasonable pace because otherwise
Right.
it takes.
It's-
But it's funny
yeah.
because after you die, you can spectate other people's games. And I was like, let's see what other people are doing. And you click it, and it's just a lot of people sitting down,
Sitting at
taking a
Yeah.
rest.
because I got
Like,
busted.
it's
Have you,
totally part of the mechanic. It's not out of the normal to just like sit for like 30 seconds.
Have you
to
played
get
with a
all your health
bard
back.
in your party yet?
I
No.
played Bard at the end of the beta when they introduced him, and some of their
So,
spell buffs are really cool.
dude, yeah, no. So Danny played a bard with my friend Danny. Like we were playing the other night, and he played a bard, and it was cool because I was able to sit down and chill. He plays music for you, and it buffs your healing.
Right.
So like,
Ah.
yeah, so like it'll heal with the music plus the healing from sitting plus whatever
Yeah.
potion or
They have
fire you're
that. They
next
have a
to.
speed buff. They have like a strength buff, something like that.
I might make a
songs they
cleric
play.
too to try out some of the healing magic.
Clerics in this game are D&D clerics.
Yeah.
They use maces,
Turn
and
undead,
shields,
that kind of deal, like-
turn undead. Like
Yeah.
clerics are really cool in this game. They're not. They were almost detrimental in the early alpha and beta of this game because healing was really tough and finding healing items was really tough, and I feel like everything hit a little bit harder as well too.
Yeah.
As much. And so it was like you had to have a cleric because without the heals you were fucked.
Have any of you guys played as a druid?
No.
Jensen's been playing him a lot because he fell in love with that. The druid has access to chicken form,
You can turn into animals. Yeah,
rat
it's great.
form,
Yeah,
panther form, and bear form.
yeah,
All
yeah.
very fun ones. I like the idea of the rat one. Like the idea of
yeah.
there's enemy players, so you just low key it and just turn into a fucking rat and just try to fucking mind your own business and escape by just being incognito as fuck. You know what I mean?
There are a lot of spaces on the maps that like only the chicken and rat could fit through, like
No shit,
tight
really?
crevices where even enemy. I mean, they can still have line of sight if they have a bow,
Right.
but the rat can just hide in darkness. The
cool.
panther is
That's
fat,
awesome, yeah.
scarily fast, and the bear is really, really
I've
strong.
seen one of the bears before in a lobby and was like, God damn, it's big.
They can
yeah.
also summon as another choice. They can summon like a little treant, like a little
shit,
woodland,
no way.
tree to fight
Cool.
for you. So they get cool stuff.
Cute as hell.
The warlocks can summon little.
I'll
like,
say this: the druids are D&D druids in the sense that they are not offensive people. They
except
seem
when
to
they're in bear
be-
form.
They seem to be spellcasters.
Yeah.
Spellcasters. So real quick, just to finish it up, I just wanted to talk about like just the accessibility of this game. I wrote just like things I didn't necessarily like about this game.
Okay. All
Right? Specifically that the learning curve to understanding what
steep.
the game is so fucking steep.
But you mean in like the menu vomit sort of way?
Yes, and also the combat.
Okay.
The combat itself is so unique to
Mhm.
itself. Like I'd
Very
never played
complex.
Kingsfield, and
Very complex.
it's both slow and fast because
Right.
like we've mentioned, the swinging is slow, but as Raph mentioned, you can do things like if you duck and look down, your character will physically duck his head down to avoid, say, a horizontal swing or something. And these are things that people that you run into will know how to do. And I do not know how to do.
I still don't know how to do it.
And
you can
so-
duck and look up to the left, and your dude will dodge that way, kind of. Like
I
you
kept-
can dodge a swing that's like diagonal.
I kept playing this
Crazy.
game. I did
That's
a bunch of solo runs. I kept going, okay, I'm going to play this game and learn how it works. So I kept playing, and it would go like a little something like this. I spawn in a room that's filled with 10 goblins. I instantly get killed and
Yes.
have to go through the you died. Exit to lobby? Yes. Loading. Okay, now you're in the lobby. Okay, start. Okay, waiting to load lobby. Okay, now you're in the lobby. Okay, the game starts. All right, I'm in a room with 12 goblins again and I'm dead. Like it was just like there came times where I was like, fuck this fucking game. Like I just like throwing my mouse like this
like
is
most
fucking-
of these extraction games, though, solo is more for the hardcore, and it is much more fun in a duo or a trio.
Not
Yeah,
only
much more
did
fun.
I find that once we started playing together,
Yeah.
I watched a video on YouTube. I really should have. I'm really a bad person for not shouting out the YouTuber, but I watched a guide, which really helped a lot. Just like literally, there was a chapter in this guy's video that was just like the game plan for entering the, like what you know what I mean? Because I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find an exit, but sometimes you'll go to an exit and it'll already be taken.
Yeah, it was already
It'll
used.
but it won't be marked on the map as taken, and that's when I'm like,
yeah.
God damn it! I really
That's how
wish
they
they
get
would
ya.
mark the ones that are taken. I understand it's part of the game, but it's a really bummer when you have a bunch of treasure that you're like, can't wait to get back and sell this, and then you go to a rope and you're like, it's not there, and then you run into a skeleton king and you're like, fuck, and then he kills you, and you're like, well, I just played for 25 minutes for nothing. Like,
Oopsie.
I will
yeah,
say the other thing that like I don't mind that it doesn't show you what exits are taken on the
Me
map,
either.
but what I do mind is that I can't fucking open up the map
to figure out where the
in
fuck
big.
I
Yeah, like
am.
I want a bit. No, I just want it. Like, can I hit fucking like tab just to pull or M to pull up
No.
the map so I can see the full map?
No.
That'd be great.
I would be
No.
great. No.
No,
You
not
don't
at
get to
all.
you don't get to
The
do
guy on
that.
YouTube
Yeah, yeah.
goes, what you're going to want to do is, first of all, make sure wherever you spawn, you want to go to the outsides of the level, because all the really good people are going to go to the inside because they're getting ready for the end game. And I said, okay, that's great. How the fuck do I know where the edge of the level is if I can only see a very small portion of it? Because when you
You'll get used to
start,
it.
the mini map in this game is not the entire map.
Yeah.
It's like your area
It's like
and
15% of the map.
right
Yeah.
around you. And so you'll start and you're kind of, like I said, I don't memorize the levels yet. So I kind of just start and go, okay, fuck, where am I? What's going on? And then I immediately try to find a safe place, whatever. But
How big are these maps?
dude,
You know, they have changed a lot, and
Yeah.
they were really big in the alpha and the beta as well.
I was looking at the wikis, and a lot of them have 2 floors, and I
At
didn't
least.
catch the scale, but I mean, you've played the game. It's
Yeah, like we've
really,
gotten
and like every
lost in
room
this
has
place.
got
Yeah.
a dark soul. Like you'll be like, okay, I'm really low on health, and there's a rope at the end of this room. There's 2 goblins in here. I just need to run by, and then you go to run through it, and then 2 skeletons also stand up, and it's
Yeah,
like,
spot on.
God damn, game,
Yeah.
you did not have to do that to me.
But
That is
again, single
fucked up.
player is a totally different experience than
Right,
playing as a
yeah.
group, because you get to work together like a small D&D party. I mean,
It's
that's
true.
Yeah.
It's true,
Yeah,
and
I
it really
played
was more
duos.
satisfying.
I played
They
duos. I
synergy
played
well.
trios. I haven't played singles yet, so I don't know
Yeah,
what the
singles is a different
is.
experience. Like, for instance, I'm playing as like a ranger. That is a tough class on solo.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, that is an uphill, absolutely, because again, I'm good at navigating the maze. Soon as I get in a fight, even with like a tough NPC, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Okay.
I'm the backup. I'm plugging them in the back of the head with arrows while you're blocking.
Yeah. But those nitpick, the idea that it's hard, like it doesn't make the game bad at all.
No,
Like
no,
one
at
one
all,
piece of
yeah.
advice that really helped me with being okay, with the gameplay
Mhm.
loop is in the YouTube video. The guy said you're gonna die a lot at the
Yeah.
beginning of this game. Like when you're the first couple of levels, you're pretty much going to die most of the time. So you just have to be okay
It's
with
okay.
that. And when the times when you don't die, the last thing I wanted to say about this game, besides it's awesome, is that he said treat the lower levels, treat the items that you find as rentals.
Right.
Don't
I
get
like
too
that, yeah.
attached to any of the equipment.
Yep.
And when you're the
That's good
lower
advice.
levels, don't pick up equipment you can't use in anticipation of selling it later, because you probably won't even get there, and it'll just be a waste of your
Yeah, you
brain
shouldn't have-
power
you
to
shouldn't have
think about,
bothered.
like, should I keep it? It's just
Yeah.
like,
And
if you
wasting your
cannot
time.
put it on, then don't like, just grab anything that'll make this run right now
Right.
easier. Because you're also going to find like jewels and trinkets and shit, and you want to get back home so you can sell that shit. Because once you get a stockpile of cash,
Yeah.
then you can start
can buy
just like
good stuff,
buying
yeah.
shit that you need. Instead
Well,
of having
have
to
you
find it.
have you guys looked at the gear levels or the high roller stuff? Do you understand how some of that works?
No, I haven't fucked with any.
I
So-
know that if
high
you're
roller stuff.
above like a 25 gear
Yeah.
level, then you end up in like
So-
higher level maps.
So
Right.
when you're in a regular map, if you're below 25, you're basically with all the other scrubs using like base white gear. It uses a traditional tier system, right? Like white, green, blue, or whatever.
Diablo.
Yeah, and if you get above 25, which is like any decent gear at all, you're going to be geared with different people that are more geared out. So there is a second set of all of these queues
Yeah.
called the high roller dungeons. They cost you 100 gold buy-in to queue for one,
Yeah.
but all of the loot is like blue and above. It's
Nice.
all higher, better stuff. So once you get your character to a high enough level that you get access to all the abilities, once you feel comfortable and you saved up a couple thousand gold pieces and you don't feel bad spending, a couple hundred gold on gear 4 matches in a row if you keep losing, but then you get out one and you get all this better gear to have with you and take with you. So then it starts to become a completely different game. And that's why his advice of don't get attached to that stuff is very accurate.
Yeah, because that was he's like the items that you're getting in this first like tier, they're not. You may be like, well, this is really cool. It's not. You're level 5. Like, trust me, there's better stuff later. Yeah. But yeah, Dark and Darker. I'm having
Pretty
fun
cool.
with it. I want to play some more. I
I'm
I'm
really
glad
like
it's
game.
back.
like
I missed it.
Yeah. I like it.
Definitely gonna buy the full experience.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough for that. We are almost out of time, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our What Else You Got and head on out of here, gents. Okay, we are back from our break, and we are ready for our What Else You Got, where we can bring to the table anything of any media type that we would like. This week, I do have a game that I played besides Dark and Darker. It's called Reigns Beyond, REIGNS,
Oh.
Reigns.
Oh, that kind of rain.
It was released in April 2024, so it's pretty new, and this bad boy costs $4.99.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
and
That kind of game.
and it's 2 words: Devolver Digital.
Ooh, I like those
Published by
words.
Devolver Digital, developed by somebody called Nereal. I don't know if it's one. It feels like it's a one person. It's a $4.99 game.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people could have made it for $4.99.
They're like Prince.
It is a roguelike adventure game where you play as the captain of a ship of rock and roll space pirates
Hell yeah.
that keeps crashing and getting cloned over and over and over again.
What just happened?
Oh, I've
So,
seen this game. I've heard about this one. This shit looks fun.
gameplay is entirely done through swiping.
Nani the fuck?
It feels like a dating app. Like you literally the whole entire game is just either swiping to the right for an affirmative answer or swiping to the left for a negative answer.
This
I'm
looks
over
fun as
40. I'd have
hell.
no idea what that mechanic feels
So-
like.
So an example would be basically when you start the game, much like in a lot of roguelike fashions, you have a series of like avenues in front of you to pick from. Like it'll basically be like which space route do you want to take? And you'll ahead of time, it'll give you a description of the space route and it'll show you how many stops are on the space route and what each stop is. So it'll be like first one's a small planet with a bar on it. The second one is like a question mark. And then the third one is a bar with a music logo on it, which is, I mentioned earlier, your rock and roll space pirates. When you get to those levels, you play a rhythm music game
Oh,
What?
that is kind of like that game Amplitude for the PS4, where you're like on a rail and you're like sort of leaning from left to right to like get these little hearts. And that's how you make money in the game, so that when you get to planets where you can buy stuff, you can buy it. The other interactions, though, so are like I wrote in my notes, this game is a Captain Picard simulator because you're in charge of a spaceship and a bunch of people are asking things of you constantly, and you answer in an affirmative or a negative, but it's not necessarily yes or no.
Make it so.
So, for example, a crew member during your flight might come up to you and tell you that there's a fire in a portion of your ship, and he wants to briefly turn off the oxygen in that room to extinguish the fire. Do you let him do it or not? So this
Turns
game
out it's a nursery and all the babies. Oh no, all the babies.
This ties in basically with the fact that the game aspect of this is that you have 4 sort of like ship aspects above your prompt that represent your ship's oxygen levels, its power levels, its structural integrity, and the crew health. And most
You have to
every
balance them.
decision you make will affect one or more of these stats one way, either positively or negatively.
So a little bit of crisis management.
So the
Dude,
stats,
this is a whole series of games.
the stats that will be affected by your decision that you're about to make will be illuminated in like 2 different brightness factors for either like slight or severe, but the game will not tell you in which direction it will be, either positive or negative.
Okay.
So in the previous thing that like I just mentioned, like in the case of the room on fire, when you go to highlight the yes answer, it might show you that the decision would affect the hull greatly, while a no would affect your oxygen levels and your crew health moderately. So you might assume like, okay, so it's like which of these 4 stats do I have the most? Or do I want to expel the oxygen and the crew health? Is my hull okay enough? Or do I need to, do I need to put the oxygen and the crew at risk to get rid of that that fire because my ship's health is very low. And so the longer like space routes that you take make you make more decisions. Like that is the roguelike part of it. Is like you'll pick a route that's got 18 stops, which means you will get 18 different cards of like people coming up to you to be like, I found this thing in a box and it smells weird and is wriggling. Should I
It's
like,
a tribble. It's
can
a tribble.
can I play with it? And if you say no, like your crew health will go down because like the guy got bummed that you wouldn't let him play with his space. But then if you say yes, like sometimes nothing will happen, and then 3 cards later he'll come back and be like, that thing that you let me play with got really big and it's breaking everything in the lab. Or you're like, God damn
it. I've seen this sitcom trope before.
It was a really cool way to play an adventure, like a text-based adventure game really quickly. Because it was like the problem that I have with games like the BioWare games, help me here, the space one.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, great game. Too much talking. It's like,
okay, that's fair.
Like it's great. There's so many different.
It's a full fleshed out RPG.
There's so many different things you can say. In this game, you can either say basically yes or basically no. You know what I mean? And so you can
make decisions.
But the things that like all your crew members have to say are really cool, and there's a huge variety of them. And I actually unlocked by doing like there's like a list of quests that'll be like weird things. Like one of them will say like recruit a manager, and it's just like, and then you'll just be randomly exploring, and lo and behold, you stop at this one planet and go to a bar, and a guy sees you play rock music and he wants to be your manager. And so when you do it, you get a cash prize for completing the quest. And it's like, okay, so then like when your ship gets reborn, that guy remains your manager. So when you do another run, you might find another thing that interacts with the thing you've done. For $4.99, I was like, this is a kick-ass game. Yeah. Like this is a lot of really cool writing, and like I said, it is a Captain Picard simulator. If you've ever watched Star Trek Next Generation, you know that Captain Picard's not famous for his fist fighting. He's famous for his decision making. So yeah, Reigns Beyond.
Dude,
really
I was
cool,
looking at it.
Really cheap roguelike game that you can pick up and put down, and it was pretty different than ones I've played.
This game is like a whole series of games too. Like
There's
there's
a
a
Game of
medieval
Thrones
one. Yeah, the medieval one has like really good reviews, and it's like $3. But yeah, like this is. I'm gonna check these games out. They look
really
fun
cool
as hell, and they're cheap as fuck, man.
Yeah. That was why I was like $4.99.
Hell
Devolver
yeah.
Digital.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like a hamburger.
Sign me up.
Buck, what else have you got for us this week, sir?
As of the airing of this episode, Dawn Trail will be out, so I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Oh, but I did get myself I pre-ordered myself an early birthday present in the Discord.
Is that what you
can
just
see there is
sent in the chat?
Buck has sent us a Final Fantasy 14 edition of the Titan Evo
it's
gaming
not
chair.
here yet, but I upgraded my secret lab to the Final Fantasy 14 featuring the Crystal Tower, aka from the best boy Gorohatia. To the Final Fantasy 14 Secret Lab chair, and it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It has the Dalamud meteor right here with a magnet in it, and you can swap out the badges, the tank, healer, or DPS badge, like on the chair,
on your chair,
on the chair. But it has all that. It has the logo on here, has the tower on the back, has cool looking gold inlays. It's like, yeah, I'm a sucker.
That looks awesome.
For that one. But with Dawn Trail coming out, that's like, yeah, I'm super excited. This is the graphical overhaul update as well for that game. So game that's already gorgeous is going to get super duper gorgeous. My other one is I don't love waiting for these, but it's always fun to get them, is
something
one
physical.
of the limited run games that I pre-ordered over a year ago.
Oh, shit.
And that is my favorite FMV game of all time, Night Trap, on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So if you guys remember, they made those video cartridges for the Game Boy Advance, Pokemon and Nickelodeon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of those that they made episodes. This is the 60-minute Night Trap as a movie on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, no way.
It's amazing looking.
In cartridge form.
Trap them all.
Great.
It says on the back.
they made this as an April Fool's joke last year, and they only took pre-orders on it for like 3 days.
It's like a gorgeous blood red cartridge too.
It's
Oh,
I haven't opened it. I don't think I'll
nice,
open
yeah.
it. I don't want.
I
It's
don't
gotta
think
go.
I'll open
It's
it.
got to go on my shelf with my Night Trap collection.
Honey, what are
but
you doing? Nothing. Just sitting on the toilet
It's-
watching Night Trap on a Game Boy.
It's
I wonder
just-
what it looks like on the Analog Pocket.
Yeah,
That would probably
If it
look
would-
gorgeous on that. This is just also the further rub in of the Senate hearing of Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo console. I own Night Trap on yet another Nintendo console.
Go see our FMV Game Jams episode for more on Night Trap if you don't
love you,
know
Night
what
Trap, so
that
much.
is. Raph, what else have you got for us this week, sir?
Well, I finally took a trip out to that store that you told me about, Mac. I don't know if I could say the name of the store on here.
Gus's store?
Yeah, it's
Buck's been
yes.
it's funny. Buck's been friends with the guys that own that store, Raph,
Mhm.
for 2
Since-
decades. Like
So I can just say it. It's
Since
Cybertron
two-
Games.
yeah,
like,
Cybertron
Cybertron
Games
yeah,
here in
Cybertron
Orlando.
Games.
They do a
but
different
yeah.
thing than Retro
his
Game Trick.
his other his old partner that's not in it anymore was childhood friends with my wife, Dave Anderson. That's how I got introduced to Gus in college.
Nice.
And he started out as a flea market store in the late 90s, and I have known him since college. So since 2000, 2001, I've known him. Literally more than 2 decades.
Yeah.
He has a son named Prime, I believe. That's how
awesome.
dedicated he is to the Cybertron
man,
thing.
look at that. Well, I found a couple. Well, I found a bunch of cool stuff. This place is amazing. There's like a whole massive selection of games there. But I ended up picking up a copy of Metroid for the NES
Nice,
because I
nice.
don't own this one. I've never played it before, and I was like, you know what? It's $20. I might as well grab it. I did get to play it. It's very hard, but it's very good. I like it a lot.
Yes.
The other thing that I picked up,
I think I know what the other thing is, and I like the other thing more.
I had no idea that this even existed
Neither
for
did
the
I.
Super Nintendo.
Oh, those are
but
always fun.
I picked up Prince of Persia for the Super Nintendo.
It's
I
cool,
didn't
man.
know this existed. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So I played it on the
Yeah.
CRT for a little bit, and it plays really well, and it
Really
looks fucking gorgeous.
It looks
Like,
and
Oh,
it
yeah.
sounded good.
Yeah, it sounded fantastic. Like the sprite work on this is really, really good.
I
Yeah.
follow Jordan Mechner on X, Twitter, whatever, the
Yeah.
guy that made Prince of
Yeah, he's
Persia, right?
awesome.
yeah,
And he has shared more than once the old camcorder video
Yeah.
of his brother in an all-white jumpsuit doing the jumps. They
Mhm.
used his brother as the model for the jumps
Oh,
that
for
the
the
Prince does
animation.
for
Buck,
the
you
animation.
gotta
of
watch
the
that movie
sprites
on
and that. Super
Karateka.
cool. Yes, I do, because
Yeah.
that I would love that too.
But
That's
no, this
awesome.
Prince of Persia game, I also the menu screen alone, the text on the menu screen, like the font, was like I was just like, damn, this game
Yeah.
fucking looks good as fuck. Like,
The
Yeah, dude.
SNES version had a menu screen.
Yeah.
Dude,
I
this
played
was
it on the Mac.
I'm about to say we played it on the
Power
Mac,
Mac.
and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Buck. This looked good.
Yeah.
Prince of Persia is one of those games that got ported to so many consoles. I
Yeah.
mean, look at that one. That's got Konami slapped on it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It got ported to so many consoles that there are varying degrees of graphics, difficulty, sound,
Yeah.
Straight up quality
across
in
all those
general,
versions.
yeah.
Everything from like the Commodore, 64 ZX Spectrum, all of those, all the way up to the Super Nintendo. Prince of Persia 2, I believe, also came out on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, dude,
Mm.
like I had a hard time with it at first. I started playing it and then I was like, oh, this is as hard as I remember it being when I played it on a computer, like way back in the day. But after a while I started getting used to the controls and it's really not that difficult, but it's very unforgiving.
You know what always reminded me of like an upgraded version of Prince of Persia was Tomb Raider, because of
Yeah.
the way that it controls,
Interesting.
especially
I can
the
see that.
early tank
Yeah.
control-y almost kind
Yeah.
of Tomb Raider. It
Yeah.
really made me feel like Prince of Persia, because it was always like, I have to jump on that ledge. No, I got to take one more step back.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can jump up on the ledge. Like it felt like a 3D upgrade of Prince of Persia to me.
I find myself because crouching will actually move you up like a couple of pixels. So I
Right.
find myself crouching to get like a few
Yep.
pixels up to the ledge, and then that way I can crouch down and then like hang off the ledge and come down and like go down the ledges like that. Very cool game though. I
neat.
like I said, I'd never played it except for like on the computer a long time ago. But this is very, very cool little. I'm very, very happy I got this. It was and it was only $20. Only $20.
That's good. Yeah, we get those in from time to time too as well for SNES.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very happy with both
Animation
those
of just
purchases.
dropping straight down and busting both ankles on the floor.
I always loved how the
painful.
spikes came out of the ground in that game and the sound that they
Yeah.
like when they
super
spikes
satisfying.
and they're all jagged.
The sounds of when like a floor is about to fall too, like it makes like
Yeah.
sounds very good. Yeah, nice. Prince of Persia. All right, well, hey, listen, that's our show. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Do us a huge favor, like and subscribe if you don't mind. And if you are just listening to this on Spotify, why don't you head on over to Instagram or YouTube and look up the Game Treasure Podcast. You can see all my funny edits and whatnot. We make little shorts. You can also reach us via email at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any ideas for an episode, or maybe you've got some free art you want us to show of us as the demons from Dark and Darker, or like all the warlocks can transform into.
Yeah, they can.
You can find links to all of this stuff at our Linktree. Linktree/the GTP. Join us next week where we will be doing the PlayStation 1 console carousel.
Oh, I'm going to start preparing right now.
It's going to be so fun. I can't tell which is going to be more fun, the PS1 or the PS2, but I'm thinking we're going to have a lot of fun.
I love them both, but I think the PS1 is my favorite library of games.
It's got
so console carousel, of course, being a special where we take a specific console and talk about our 5 favorite games from that console. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Apple Music, Spotify, and maybe in your hometown this summer. Their tour is already started, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com. Owned and operated by the Megabuck himself, Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends you beautiful boxes filled with retro games every month. Simply go to www.retrogametreasure.com, create your account, set your preferences, and you're done. The only hard part is waiting for the next box. RetroGameTreasure.com. Obsessed with video games since 1985. Hit me with your new subscribers buck.
This week we welcome Christopher Zink, Kevin Fagno, Anthony, didn't give me his last name, Charlotte Sharbut, Stephen Shatkin, and Allison Baker.
Thank you guys so much for subscribing. My name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure Podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.